Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com, and we're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Before we get to the reviews real quick, I just wanted to, a little side note, to please check out the other video that was posted the other day for the graphic novel Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith, published by Fantagraphic Books. It's really a must read, and really seek out that book. Check out the review. It's got artwork, and I talk about how amazing the book is, and you really need to check it out. This week we kind of got a bit of a smaller pile, so I think we'll be able to get through these hopefully pretty quick. First up, we have The Good Asian #1, written by Pornsak Pichait, with artwork by Alexander Trudensky. This is kind of interesting. This takes place in the 30s, but obviously with a lot of the Asian hate that's going on right now, it's ironically very timely. So it's a story about Edison Hark, who's a detective, and he was adopted when he was younger by Mason Caraway, multimillionaire. And so what it is his. So it starts off, kind of sets up, how he, came to the U.S. and everything with being adopted. And so what it is his dad is slipped into a coma because I don't know that he was necessarily having an affair, but he had, a thing for one of his helpers, Ivy Chen, who has kind of disappeared now, and his dad's in a coma. So his brother Frankie asked him to, hey, try to find her, find out what's going on, because obviously, we can't talk to dad. He's in a coma. So that's kind of the setup of the detective premise of the story. What's interesting is, like I said, how even though it's set in the 30s, the irony is it's just as timely in the period of Asian hate in America was very strong back then. And Pichait really does a really nice job of blending that, but it's definitely set in that period. And it's the basic structures, detective noir, it's the premise is very simple, but there's a lot of undertones that are really just really great and really add a richness to the story that I really enjoyed. And this first issue does a nice job of balancing the exposition with kind of putting all these things together, but he does also a very good job of getting to know the characters within this first issue. But there's still like enough things. There's some police action and stuff to kind of help move the book along in this first issue. The artwork by Trudensky is really, really good. I mean, he really captures the noir aspect of it, and also the color palette that they use on the book is very limited, where they use color sparingly to kind of help with that, really complements the line art with the book. I really enjoyed this. I think it's off to a really good start, and I think it's really interesting, and I think it's definitely worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Eve #1. Written by Victor Laval, with artwork by Joe Mi Going. So basically this is yet another post-apocalyptic story. It's about a little girl and her father who are on this island, but then you discover that she's actually kind of dreaming that, and that she is by herself, but she has a teddy bear that is a robot. Very similar to AI, artificial intelligence, the Kubrick Spielberg film. There's definitely shades of that there. And so it's she wakes up, and the bear takes care of her, and then you find out that they're New York's underwater, and she has to go find something. It's just like the story's very basic. I mean, and I think the thing that Laval didn't do was he didn't really bring anything new to this story. It's not that it's bad. It's just like I've read it before, and there wasn't anything that, felt new about it. The other thing that I struggled with a little bit was Miguel's artwork, where it kind of has an anime influence, and where it, I think, struggled a little bit was with the facial expressions, where they were a little bit on the simplistic side, and kind of just didn't gel with the feel of like the story. It certainly wasn't bad. I mean, it was an okay read, but that was the problem. It was kind of okay, and at this point, with so many books coming out, okay is just not going to cut it. Next up, we have Jenny Zero #1. Written by David Dush and Brockton McKinney, with artwork by Magenta King. And you might remember a few weeks ago with the video, I was going to review it, but apparently there was a major misprint that page 12 was actually page 2 from issue 2. So they Dark Horse replaced these issues, and now this is the corrected version. It's quite interesting. I mean, there's definitely, so the basic premise is Jenny. She was like a kaiju fighter from Japan. She is now in the United States, in California. And she basically has blown through all the multi-million dollars that her dad left her. So she just kind of like parties and stuff, and her commander from Japan comes in and says, hey, there's kaijus coming to the United States. They don't have anything set up. We really need, you should really help them. I mean, our government can't because of the red tape, but you can because you know how to do it. So he basically leaves her like kind of weapon, which is kind of like a mutating suit. It's the best way to kind of describe it. And so she fights the kaiju in this first issue, and then there's the twist of, shall we say, big girls at the end. It's quite interesting. I think Donchi and McKinney do a good job of setting things up. There is some nice action in this first issue. And I think it moves along. I mean, if you're a fan of kaiju, there seems to be a bunch of kaiju books right now. This is pretty decent. I think there's enough there to give it a little more, see where it goes in the second issue. I really did like King's artwork. It really has a nice feel to it. It kind of has a roughness and that really I think captured the feel and everything that they were trying to get off and get across in the script. And I think it's worth checking out, especially if you're there's been quite a few kaiju books and most of them have been pretty good. So I wouldn't say I was amazed by this first issue, but I did like it. So we'll see what the second issue brings. Next up, we have The Invincible Red Sonja #1, written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner, with artwork by Moritat. Now, obviously, there's been a billion, it's Dynamite. There's a billion Red Sonja books. So the question kind of comes down to, if you haven't read Red Sonja or you have been what makes this different? And really, honestly, it's Palmiotti and Connor. They do a really, I mean, obviously, they're best known from the recent run of Harley Quinn. They've done quite a few books together, but I think the thing is that they bring kind of a charmed fun. There's battles, there's bloods, there's bunches of fights, but I think they bring kind of a, like that, kind of dark humor to the book, which really, I think is a huge help to it. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I like Red Sonja, I don't hate her, but honestly, Dynamite puts out so many books, after a while, you're just like, yeah, whatever. But the other thing is, and Dynamite is known for, having big name writers, but the artists isn't necessarily always like, the best, but getting, Moritat, to do the artwork was a big win for this book. So not only is it a fun story, but the artwork's actually really, really nice. It's way above average for, Dynamite. The question is going to come down to, like, if you want to read a Red Sonja book, I would definitely recommend this, probably over a bunch of the other ones, just because of the talent behind it. So, that's where I had fun with it, and in the end, that was kind of made it worthwhile. So, I would say, if you've ever been interested in Red Sonja, this one is probably definitely one of the better ones to check out. Next up, we have Sensational Wonder Woman #3. There's two stories in here. The first one is written and drawn by Colleen Duran, and the second one is written by Alyssa Wong, with artwork by Eleonora Carlini. It's been quite a while since Colleen Duran. I've seen her artwork, and to see her do Wonder Woman is just for me a treat unto itself. She actually does a really interesting story. It's basically this kind of talent agent, and a lot of the perspective of the story is from her cell phone video, and it's just an interesting take. It's kind of like the Twitter generation. That's the best way to kind of describe it. And it's just a fun little story. I mean, and it has like just a really nice charm to it, and her artwork is always just really really good. I mean, she is really an amazing artist, and even this somewhat short story is well worth the price of admission. The backup story by Wong and Carlini was decent. It's Wonder Woman goes to a benefit with Bruce Wayne, and Mr. Freeze shows up, and it's okay. It's not bad. It's good. I actually Carlini's artwork is actually very kind of different and unique, and I did like the style. The backgrounds were a little on the slim side, but she has a very different look, and it wasn't entirely like superhero-y, like standard superhero art. And I did definitely appreciate. Story was okay, it was just kind of an average, kind of superhero. There's a few fun little moments in it. So, but really the main reason I think to pick up this issue is for the main story, for the first story with Colleen Duran, which is a really big win. Next up we have Dead Dog's Bite #3. Written and drawn by Tyler Boss. I have been really impressed with this book, and like I said, I like the first issue. Second issue just blew my mind. The third issue continued the story. So Joe's still trying to find out about her missing friend, but what she's, and we saw this in the second issue, she's been digging that there is something going on in this town with the peppermint factory. And she so basically this issue continues that journey of finding out different things. She starts going to the library, discovering pictures of the mayor, and all these other things, and it's just leading her down this kind of rabbit hole of like, there's something weird going on in this town. And Ryan at the Comic Shop really summed this book up. It's very much like Twin Peaks. It definitely has a very Twin Peaks vibe to it. Both in the story, and the artwork is just, Boss is really knocking it out of the park. I mean, he just, it visually is just amazing. There's a number of times where there's no dialogue, and it's an amazing book. I mean, I cannot recommend this book enough. I love it. It's absolutely amazing. It is a must buy. I am really, I can't wait to see how he ties this all up. I'm very excited. Next up, we have Swamp Thing #3, written by Ram V, with artwork by Mike Perkins. So we're still having Levi is now Swamp Thing, but he doesn't quite know he's Swamp Thing. It's like, there's definitely like two. There's like Swamp Thing, and then there's Levi, and they're not quite together. So this issue, his friend Jennifer, does a CAT scan on him, and then so he kind of goes into the green world, and she actually kind of gets sucked in too. So they're both in the green world, and it's fine for him, but she's like out of place. She didn't know what's going on. So this issue, we have Poison Ivy in the green world. And so what's interesting, what Ram did with that is there's kind of like, it's almost like there's two Ivies. There's kind of like the evil Ivy and the good Ivy, because in a way her character is very much like that. It's a very yin and yang thing. So there's that going on, and the kind of one of the big surprises, and I won't exactly say, but I will say, an old Swamp Thing friend comes back, and it really just changes everything. And I mean, this issue really just like solidifies like how like what a really intriguing story that Ram V has really come up with on this. And it just each issue seems to be getting better and better. I mean, I love Swamp Thing. I'm also a very strong critic of Swamp Thing. There have been good Swamp Things, and there have been bad Swamp Things, and it's I can safely say this is one of the good Swamp Things. And I also like that it's only going to be 10 issues, that this is the story they're telling, that, and I like that, it's kind of like an extended mini series. Perkins really is just knocking it out of the park here. I mean, he did the 2 issues Future State book. They both did that, and now he's doing this regular book, and it really looks wonderful. I mean, his artwork is really amazing. It reminds me very much in a good way of Stephen Bissett and John Todelman, but it's very much Perkins. I mean, it's very much, but I like that he really goes big when he needs to, but he also is able to capture those little small details. And it's not only a great story, but it's a really damn good looking book. Next up, we have absolutely one of my favorite books right now, Firepower number 11, written by Robert Kirkman and with artwork by Chris Samnee. So this is the next to last issue of the first story arc. So Owen and Wei Lin are going back to the monastery where Waylon lived and Owen was trained. And so this issue kind of is like the giant battle. The last issue was leading up to it. So this one, basically all hell's breaking loose. It's good versus evil, and it's just like insanity, but it's really amazing how good this book continues to be at this point. And I'm so excited to see where, because the 12th issue is not the last issue, it's just the end of this first story arc. So it'll be really interesting to see where they take it. But this one is just packed with action. I mean, there's flames, explosions, people flying all over the place. And it's really amazing. And this book, not only do I look forward to it, it continues to amaze me every single issue. Like I said, Kirkman is really surprisingly knocking this one out of the park, but I really think that has a lot to do with Chris Samnee, because I really believe that he is involved with the story. I think that's another reason why it's so good, and his art is just freaking fantastic. It doesn't get much better than this. Next up, we have The Last Witch number 5, written by Connor McCreary, with artwork by VV Glass. So this is it's the final issue, but it's the second story arc will come later. I did make sure I looked it up, and McCreary has said that he has completely written the second story arc. So hopefully the sales on this were good enough that hopefully they will plan to do the second story arc. So this issue basically has Cerise battling one of the other witches, Babbed, and so that's kind of where we end this first story arc, where things have changed. There is definitely a price that is paid within this battle, which I will not let go, but they're really it's definitely like you can tell it's an ending of the first story arc, but it's like it's a cliffhanger, but not like it's more of like, okay, where are we going to go from here type cliffhanger. That's really what this is. McCreary's script, like I said, I've really enjoyed this book. It's a great all ages book. And this issue just really it really puts a nice final part to this first story arc. And Glass's artwork just continues to really complement this story, and really, this one has like a lot of big battle scenes, and it just like, it's really amazing. But once again, it's really, for me, it's those small moments, those character visuals that Glass really just nails, and continues to be a good book. So I would say, if you haven't checked it out, this is I'm sure they're going to do a trade of the first 5 issues. You might want to wait and pick that up. That should probably be out usually it's within a month or so after the final issue, so hopefully that should be pretty soon. I would definitely check it out, especially if you have teens and maybe a bit younger kid, not too young. They'd probably really enjoy this book. And finally, we have Nocterra number 3, written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Tony Daniel. So After the last issue, we have, they're trying to get away. It's basically that we're continuing the Mad Max chase. They're trying to get away, and the grandfather gets captured. So, and now they're stuck in a cave in Utah at the end of this story, and her brother is not doing so well. So that's where we kind of end up in this issue. I've really, kind of been really impressed with this. Snyder's really doing a good job with the story, and I think really, there's the action aspect. Obviously, last issue and this issue, the whole Mad Max chasing, which is really cool. And boy, Daniel really just nails that part. I mean, he's really good at the action. But I think it's the underlying story of, like what's going on with, what's the story with grandfather. We don't know if, and then there's the granddaughter. It's like, what does she know? And then the brother and sister story. There's a lot of character juggling going on, and I think that's what's, making the book like work so well. Is, there's the whole like, Earth is in darkness, people are turning into monsters, animals turn into monsters. That's all neat and everything, but really what, keeps you coming back is the characters, and Snyder's really, keeping that going quite well. So, once again, this third issue keeps the ball rolling down the road really well. Of course, as I said before, Daniels, he's just he's a great artist. I mean, his work from Batman. So, but once again, it kind of goes back to that character development. I think it's the really smaller, character driven parts of the story where the artwork just really, because you have to be able to, capture that emotion in one single shot. And yet, Daniel does it so well. So, it's really it's surprisingly a good book. It's just good, and I think you should check it out. That's going to do it for this week. That was the last of them. Nice week, but small for a change. So once again, public service announcement. I get my books at my local comic shop, Pulp Fiction Comics Long Beach. Ryan and Annie run a great store there. Great customer service. They have a great pull service. They make sure you get what you want. When as long as it's still available, they do their best. They also offer 30% off of trade paperbacks and hardcovers. So they have, and if you sign up for their pull service, you get 20% off. So it's a really good deal. They also have a sister store in Culver City if you live in the LA area. It's run by Chris and her team. That's Pulp Fiction Comics in Culver City, obviously. Once again, get vaccinated when you can. Please be safe out there. Still continue to wear your mask when you're around people, just for your safety, their safety. I'm fully vaccinated at this point, but I still wear my mask just to be safe and to be courteous to other people. Once again, be kind to each other. It's very important right now to be kind. Kindness goes a long way. So just be, take care of yourselves out there, be safe, and we'll be back again next week. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.